Dear HSC learners, you all are welcome to online English class. I have been discussing the short story The Luncheon. I have already discussed the short story Luncheon in details, and today it is my fifth lecture on this short story The Luncheon. But today I will not I am not going to discuss this short story. I will show you how to answer questions, how to answer short questions. But before showing you how to answer short questions, let me tell you in brief about this short story again, so it will help you answering short questions. This is a short story written by William Somerset Maugham. This is about the events that happened between the writer and his lady guest. You see in the short story, the lady guest assures the writer again and again, saying she never eats more than one thing for luncheon. But surprisingly, we see the lady guest made the writer order about half a dozen of food items. And each of the food items, every items of the food on the list of the menu that the lady guest made the writer order for her was very much costly. So, the lady guest was talkative, the lady guest was imposing, she was actually a lady of 40. So, the writer became frustrated, the writer became disappointed seeing the seeing his lady admirer. At that time, the writer was living in Paris. The writer was living in Latin Quarter, overlooking a cemetery. It was meant for the poor working class people of Paris. The people of low income group, the low income group people, the poor people, the working class people lived in Latin Quarter. So, you can easily understand about the economic situation of the writer at that time. But in course of the events, you see that the writer became disappointed, the writer became frustrated, the writer became panicked at how to pay the bill. And in course of the events, we see at last the writer is commenting on the lady, saying she is 21 stone. That is the result of eating heavy foods, the result of eating the habit of eating foods, heavy foods have no good result. So, after 20 years, when the writer saw the lady, he saw that the lady became overweight. So, it was a natural punishment. It was a natural punishment. It was a natural punishment that happened to the lady guest of the writer. Now, let us go to the short questions. The first question is, what is Fouts? In the short story, we see the description of Fouts. Fouts is a restaurant in Paris. It is an expensive restaurant. Usually the French senators and the upper class people of the society, the rich people, go to the Fouts and have dinner, lunch, breakfast, have party, and they usually chat here. But the writer was poor and he had no capabilities to enter into Fouts and to have a taste of food item at Fouts. So, while answering short questions, the students should keep in mind, the learners should keep in mind, the answer should be precise and to the point, and no exaggerated ideas or phrases or sentences should be written in answering short questions. So, what is Fouts? Fouts is a restaurant in Paris. It is very expensive. Usually the French senators eat here. This is the correct answer. Now let us see, where did the writer live? How was the environment there? As I have discussed, the writer lived in Paris. He lived in a Latin quarter overlooking a cemetery. The poor and working class people of the society lived in the Latin quarter. So the writer was poor and he passed his days by struggling hard. So he lived in the Latin quarter. But in answering short question, the answer should be precise, the answer should be just to the point. So, where did the writer live? The writer lived in Paris. How was the environment there? He lived in a tiny apartment overlooking a cemetery. Next is, how did the lady look actually? In the short story, the luncheon, we have seen, we have learnt about the lady. The lady was a woman of 40. He had no beauty. He was imposing rather than attractive. She was eating heavily at first, breaking all the rules of etiquette and manner, and she was trying to influencing the writer, but the writer was frustrated, the writer was disappointed seeing the lady. The writer was not ready to see a lady of 40. The writer says, a charming age, but not attractive. So the writer became broken-hearted seeing the lady. But in answering short question, we should be precise. The answer should be written precisely and just to the point. No exaggerated ideas should be written. So, how did the lady look actually? The lady was actually a woman of 40. She was not so young as the writer expected. She was imposing and talkative. Next, what is asparagus? You know, in the short story, as I have discussed, the asparagus is a kind of vegetable. This is very costly. The rich people of Paris go to the restaurant foods and enjoy asparagus. The writer even never thought of having a taste of asparagus because it was a costly item of food in Paris restaurant foods. So, what is asparagus? Asparagus is a plant. It is a kind of vegetable. Its green and white stems are cooked and eaten. It is very delicious. Let us now go to the next question. How many items of food did the lady order? We see in the short story, the lady ordered 7 items of food, that is about half a dozen of food items. You see, salmon, caviar, champagne, ice cream, coffee, asparagus and peaches. All these items the lady ordered. So, dear learners, I have told you some tips of answering short questions in today's session, and here you see how to answer short question. Short question should be precise, should be just to the point, and no exaggerated ideas or phrases or sentences should be written in answering short question. So, these are some examples of answering short questions. I hope This will help you in learning answering short question after reading the text or after reading the story. Thank you all. Dear learners, thank you for being with me, for watching this video. Hope I will be again with you within short time with another video. And it's all for today. Hope you are doing good and studying at home. Thank you all.